Discover the incredible truth. My neighbor revealed a hidden secret before my son's life-changing moment. Jessica's heart raced as she watched her son, Ethan, linger by the school's stage entrance. It was finally the day of the talent show, and despite their cramped apartment and fading dreams, this was Ethan's chance to shine. As a single mother working double shifts at the diner just to make ends meet, she always wished for something more for him. His head was held high, but Jessica could see the flicker of uncertainty behind his bright eyes. She wanted to shield him from the judgment of the world, but she knew he needed to face it. Little did she know, that day would unravel both of their lives like a tightly wound thread coming undone. When Ethan stepped onto the stage with his second-hand guitar, a hush fell over the crowd, then came the whispers, sharp and cutting. Jessica's heart plummeted as she heard the sneers. They saw his worn-out jeans, his patched shoes, and the old guitar he hugged like a treasure. The laughter stung her like 100 tiny daggers, each one piercing deeper than the last. Look at him. Who does he think he is? It was awful. Jessica's chest tightened, tears threatening to spill. After the show, mother and son walked home in silence, any traces of joy snuffed out. The air was thick with disappointment, not just for Ethan, but for the dreams that felt so far away. Ethan clutched his guitar case tighter, his knuckles white. He was crushed, and so was Jessica. She felt her own dreams fading with each step they took. From next door, Mr. Thompson watched their return. He always epitomized the perfect American family, with his lush lawn and bright smiles. But he had his own burdens. After years of serving his country, he buried his aspirations deep beneath the weight of sacrifice. That day, something broke inside him, seeing the shadows on Jessica's face as she comforted her son. He couldn't bear to let them slip through his fingers. One evening, Mr. Thompson approached Jessica, and as they shared stories over cups of lukewarm coffee, he revealed his hidden truth. No one knew about the dreams he buried, the music he loved, the songs he penned in secret. In that vulnerable moment, they found common ground. Jessica saw that the same tenacity she tried to instill in Ethan thrummed beneath Mr. Thompson's skin. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With a twinkle of hope in their hearts, Jessica and Mr. Thompson devised a plan. They rallied the neighbors, organizing a community event, urging everyone to support Ethan and educate the town on the importance of recognizing talent over appearances. As announcements flooded the neighborhood about the new talent showcase, anticipation hung in the air. Everyone buzzed with excitement, but Jessica's heart beat wildly, filled with fear of another rejection. The night of the event loomed ahead. As Ethan stepped onto the stage, the weight of judgment descended once more. Could he rise above it? Could their community finally understand? With bated breath and pounding hearts, they waited for the first note to break the silence. Would this be their moment of hope, or would prejudice continue to loom large? Ethan took a deep breath, his fingers trembling over the strings of his guitar. The spotlight hit him like a warm embrace, but it also felt like a spotlight on every insecurity he had ever felt. He scanned the crowd, catching a glimpse of familiar faces, friends, neighbors, and even a few skeptics from the talent show. Jessica stood in the front row, her heart racing for him. She felt the weight of all their hopes hanging in the air. The room was charged with a mix of encouragement and apprehension. Mr. Thompson nodded from the side, a reassuring smile on his face. He had been a constant source of support, giving Ethan a boost of confidence and pushing him to pursue his dreams. The whispers from earlier echoed in Ethan's mind, but he shook them off. This was his moment. With a sharp inhale, he began strumming the first chords of his original song. The notes flowed out, filling the auditorium with a raw, pure sound that seemed to wrap around everyone in attendance. Jessica felt her heart swell as she listened, the hurt of the previous talent show slowly melting away. Each chord resonated deeply, tugging at the heartstrings not only of the audience but also of the young musician himself. He was letting go of his fears with every note. As he sang, Ethan poured out his emotions, the struggles, the pain, the longing for acceptance. The crowd was silent, caught in the magic of authenticity. Even the naysayers seemed to be listening, their guarded expressions softening. Jessica couldn't contain her tears anymore. They flowed freely down her cheeks, not just from sadness but from overwhelming pride in her son's bravery. Midway through the song, the atmosphere shifted. Some audience members began to lean in, captivated by the honesty in Ethan's lyrics. A few heads bobbed to the rhythm. Jessica could see heads beginning to nod, shoulders relaxing. She grasped the hands of the friends around her, squeezing tightly as if sharing a secret joy. This was the moment they had hoped for, the moment their community could recognize Ethan's talent. When Ethan finished, the silence seemed to hang for a heartbeat longer than it should, making Jessica's chest tighten once more. But then, it erupted. The thunderous applause erupted, louder and more fervent than she had ever heard. Cheers filled the room, echoing back to Ethan like a wave crashing ashore after a long, turbulent ocean. His eyes widened in disbelief, scanning the room as he slowly registered the encouragement and admiration pouring in. Tears of joy streamed down Jessica's face. She leapt to her feet, clapping and cheering, feeling like she was glowing with pride and relief. Mr. Thompson joined her, his own smile brimming with joy. The neighbors and friends who had gathered were now united, cheering for one of their own. Community after community, they were breaking barriers together, but in the corner, there were still faint murmurs. A couple of critics exchanged skeptical glances. "He got lucky," one whispered. It won't last. Their words were faint, yet they echoed in the back of Ethan's mind. As he stepped off the stage, euphoric yet humble, Jessica enveloped him in a hug. "You did it, Ethan. You just shared a piece of yourself," she exclaimed, squeezing him against her. But as they walked toward the rapping crowd, that fleeting moment of triumph morphed into something heavier. The road ahead was still uncertain, and both of them knew it. The applause could be short-lived, or it could open the door to something bigger. A new opportunity awaited, but so did old demons facing judgment, battling doubt. In that moment, Ethan locked eyes with his mother. "What if they're right?" he asked, voice trembling. "What if they're wrong?" Jessica replied, a spark of determination igniting within her. They weren't done yet. They had come this far. Now they had to venture even further. As they integrated back into the crowd, Ethan's heart brimmed with questions. Was this the beginning of something new, or just a fleeting moment of acceptance? And if he took the next step, what would that entail? The crowd started to disperse, but the uncertainty lingered like a haunting melody. Could he muster the courage to keep performing? Could he risk more heartbreak for the sake of his dreams? The next chapter was unwritten, and its call felt deafening. What would he dare to pursue in the face of doubt? Ethan felt the weight of the crowd's applause still resonating in his chest as he and Jessica navigated through the sea of faces. Joy and relief danced in the air, but beneath it tugged the threads of uncertainty. Each step he took away from the stage felt like stepping onto a tightrope, teetering between exhilaration and the chilling grip of doubt. Jessica held his hand tightly, as if it could anchor him amid the swelling ocean of his thoughts. "You were amazing," she kept saying, pride spilling out in every syllable. She looked at him, her eyes sparkling with admiration. "I knew you could do it." "Thanks, Mom," Ethan replied, forcing a smile. But inside, a storm churned. What came next? The voices of doubt replayed, louder now that the applause faded. He turned to Mr. Thompson, who was beaming as he approached. "That was spectacular, Ethan. I've never heard anything so authentic on that stage." Ethan's heart fluttered at the praise. Yet, he couldn't shake the lingering echoes of skepticism. What if they don't like the next one? He whispered, half asking himself and half asking Mr. Thompson. "Nonsense. Thompson waved his hand dismissively. You can't let a few whispers define your path. Focus on what you love. Keep playing, keep writing. This is just the beginning. As the conversation unfolded, Jessica caught a glimpse of a familiar face emerging from the back of the audience. It was Mrs. Collins, their neighbor from across the street. Jessica hadn't spoken to her in months, and a knot of curiosity twisted in her stomach as Mrs. Collins approached, a determined look in her eye. Ethan, she said, her voice steady but soft, I just wanted to say how proud I am of you. That was beautiful. She turned to Jessica, her expression shifting to something more serious. Can we talk? Ethan stood frozen, the warmth of Mrs. Collins' compliment juxtaposed with the gravity of her tone. Jessica nodded, motioning for Ethan to follow as they stepped to the side, away from the crowd. What's on your mind? Jessica asked, her heart racing. I've been meaning to share this for a long time, Mrs. Collins said, her voice low, but eyes sparkling with urgency. Ethan's song, it reminded me of something very personal. When I was younger, I faced some tough battles too. But I found a way to express it, just like Ethan did tonight. Music saved me. And I think it can do the same for him. Ethan's heart raced. You mean that? He asked, hope flickering in his chest. Absolutely, she continued, leaning in closer, but that's not all. I know someone, a friend of mine, who can help Ethan take his music to the next level. They're looking for fresh talent to mentor. I can get him in touch if he's interested. Jessica's breath caught in her throat, exhilaration bubbling to the surface. Are you serious? She felt a surge of hope wash over her, mingling with disbelief. Yes. But it's up to Ethan to decide if he wants to pursue this, Mrs. Collins said, glancing between them. It might be the chance he needs, or it could be daunting. Ethan felt a rush of adrenaline. Was this the opportunity he had been longing for? The chance to break out of the mold and make a real impact? But just as quickly as the excitement surged, doubt slithered back in. What if I fail? He whispered, his voice almost lost in the noise around them. Or what if you soar? Mrs. Collins responded gently, her eyes steady. You'll never know unless you try. As the crowd began to thin, Ethan locked eyes with his mother. The moment stretched like a taut string ready to snap. He was standing on a precipice, looking at the vast expanse of possibility before him, but was he brave enough to leap? The answer felt uncertain. He had played one song, but could he write another? Could he take risks without the fear of falling flat? His heart raced with the weight of the decision. And in that vivid moment under the fading lights and echoing cheers, Ethan realized that the journey ahead was not just about music. It was about embracing fear and the unknown. What would he decide? With Mrs. Collins' offer lingering in the air, the path before him shimmered tantalizingly, yet dauntingly, but would he find the courage to step into the future, knowing that every opportunity carried its own risks? The air felt electric, a mix of anticipation and anxiety hung between them. Ethan remained silent, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. He looked back at the crowd, recognizing the faces of friends and strangers, all celebrating the moment, yet all he could hear were the clashing voices in his head. Ethan, Jessica's voice broke through, drawing him back. What do you think? He swallowed hard. The offer felt monumental. I mean, what if it's just not meant for me? What if I'm not good enough? Mrs. Collins stepped closer, her eyes soft but resolute. I've seen you perform. You have a gift. But remember, even the greatest artists faced rejection and fear. They pressed on. You can't let doubt steal your dream. Dream? Ethan echoed, the word heavy in the air. What was his dream, really? Was it just to play music, or something more? Something brighter that he couldn't quite grasp yet? Jessica gave his hand a squeeze. This could be your chance. We're here for you, no matter what you choose. He felt the warmth of her support envelop him like a blanket. But the prospect of failure still loomed large. The joyous atmosphere from moments ago felt far away, replaced by a suffocating weight. What if I go for it and still fall flat? He whispered, uncertainty lacing his words. What if you flourish? Mrs. Collins shot back, her voice steady and clear. I've seen talent, real talent, when I hear it. I can connect you, but the first step has to be yours. You have to decide if you want to embrace this. The words hung in the air like a challenge, and Ethan could feel them settle in the pit of his stomach. Taking a leap meant risking everything: the fear of failure, the potential of being exposed. But maybe, just maybe, it also meant finding out who he truly was. How do you know it'll work out? He pressed, still clinging to his doubts. Because every journey starts with one step, she replied, her voice laced with personal conviction. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. Trust in the process. A moment of silence wrapped around them, punctuated only by the distant remnants of laughter and chatter from the celebration. Ethan felt Jessica's supportive gaze linger on him, urging him to consider the possibilities. Suddenly, the world outside narrowed down to just him and the prospects laid out before him. What if he poured his heart into this? What if he opened his mind to the opportunities? The thought both terrified him and ignited a flicker of excitement. I need to think, he finally said, wrestling with the flood of thoughts. Of course, Mrs. Collins said, nodding understandingly. Take your time. Remember, your art is yours to shape. As the weight of the decision hung suspended, Ethan stepped back, letting the chaos of the crowd wash around him. Moments like these were the ones that carved the path ahead. He felt it like a tug on his heart, a pull toward the unknown. Jessica leaned closer. Whatever you decide, I'm here, Ethan. Always. And in that moment, surrounded by swirling emotions, hope, and uncertainty, Ethan took a deep breath. Perhaps this crossroads, this tension was exactly where he needed to be. Perhaps this was the moment that would define him, but as he stood there, weighty thoughts pressing down on him, one question lingered above all others: was he ready to transform doubt into a melody that could resonate within him and beyond? Lost in contemplation, he could only wonder what awaited him on the other side of this decision. Would he find the strength to soar, or would he remain on the ground, forever wondering what could have been? Ethan stood at the edge of the celebration, the noise of laughter, music, and chatter swirling around him, feeling like a distant storm. His heart pounded as he glanced at Jessica, whose eyes were filled with encouragement. This was not just an important decision, it was a choice that could reshape his future. Ethan. Mrs. Collins called again, her voice slicing through the noise. Don't let this moment pass you by. The world is waiting for your music. He scanned the crowd. People danced, arms raised, smiles on their faces, as if they all knew something he didn't. A flicker of envy ignited his uncertainty. Could he really take the plunge? Could he be one of those who dared to dream big? The bass from the speakers thumped in rhythm with his racing heart. A surge of adrenaline coursed through him, but it tangled with fear of disappointment, of being judged, of exposing himself to the world. Could he risk everything when the stakes felt so high? I need a moment, Ethan said, stepping away from Jessica and Mrs. Collins. With every step further, his heart felt heavier. He wandered toward the quieter side of the venue, where the lights dimmed slightly, and the crowd noise faded into a soft hum. There, he could breathe. He leaned against a cool brick wall, closing his eyes, allowing the memories to wash over him: the late-night practices in his room, the sound of guitar strings vibrating under his fingers, the feeling of losing himself in a song. For the first time, he realized that music was more than a hobby, it was a lifeline. It beckoned him with open arms, promising a connection to something greater, something meaningful, but doubt crept back in. What made him special? Why would anyone care about his music? His breath quickened at the weight of that thought. But then he recalled Mrs. Collins' words, trust in the process. Maybe it was time to trust himself, 2. Ethan finally opened his eyes, letting the dim light warm his face. He spotted Jessica still talking to a few friends, laughter bubbling between them. He longed to feel that comfort again, to break through the wall of uncertainty that seemed to keep him at a distance. After taking a deep breath, he turned back. "Ethan?" Jessica's smile lit up when she saw him returning, a beacon of hope. "You okay?" I think I'm ready to take that step," he said, and the word surprised him. The conviction felt foreign yet intoxicating. Mrs. Collins beamed, her approval a comforting embrace. "That's the spirit. Just remember to stay true to your voice." The music shifted to a slower tune, one that tugged at a part of him he hadn't acknowledged before. It felt intimate, personal. Ethan's chest tightened as the realization dawned on him. He had a voice, his own unique sound that could echo in rooms and hearts if only he dared to let it. "What do you want to do next?" Jessica asked, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "Well, I suppose it's time to see what this path holds," Ethan replied, feeling lighter. Perhaps he'd perform at an open mic or collaborate with someone. Whatever it was, he knew it wouldn't be safe, but safety never carved great stories. As he stood there, a warmth spread through him, overriding those nagging worries. Maybe it was time to lay bare his dreams, to let the fear wash over him and dance with it instead of pushing it away. Yes, it was time to start weaving his melody into the world, and as he smiled at Jessica, the question bubbled to the surface: what if he truly embraced this journey? With a pulse of anticipation, he took a step forward, not yet knowing where it would lead but feeling fate approaching. Ethan felt a spark of determination igniting inside him. The prospect of stepping onto a stage shifted from a daunting possibility to an exhilarating challenge. He turned back to Jessica, her face glowing under the twinkling fairy lights, and felt a rush of gratitude for her unwavering support. "I want to perform. Hook up with that open mic night next week at Brood Awakenings." "It's time," he blurted out, eyes wide as if the realization had just struck him. "What? Really?" Jessica's grin widened, radiating her enthusiasm. She stepped closer, a mix of surprise and excitement in her voice. "Ethan, that's amazing. You'll crush it." He could already visualize the small cafe, a stage hugged by warm wooden beams, and people seated with their drinks, their faces upturned in anticipation. The image sent another rush of exhilaration through him. What if he shared his music? What if they connected with his story? "Thanks, Jess. It means a lot," he stammered, trying to catch his breath, still digesting the words he had just spoken. But doubt resurfaced, gnawing at him. What if he bombed? What if he forgot the lyrics? "Just remember, it's all about having fun," she said, as if reading the dread in his thoughts. "You'll be great when you're just being yourself." Fueled by her words, he thought of the countless hours spent in solitude with his guitar, the nights when he let every note heal a part of him. It was not just about the performance, it was about sharing pieces of himself through the music he lived and breathed. "Want to help me practice?" he blurted out, a sudden rush of courage propelling him forward. "Of course. Let us find a spot right now." Her enthusiasm was contagious. They moved to a corner where the noise of the crowd dimmed. Ethan grabbed his guitar from where it leaned against the wall. As he adjusted the strings, his heart raced. What if it was terrible? What if his hands wouldn't cooperate? "Just start with something simple," Jessica encouraged, nodding her head to the beat of an invisible drum. "Whatever comes to your mind." Ethan took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and let a soft melody seep through the air, slowly transforming the uneasiness into music. The notes flowed gently, married with the rhythm of his heartbeat. In that moment, he felt lighter, liberated from the weight of expectations. As he strummed, Jessica swayed lightly, her eyes closed, soaking in the sound. A sense of calm washed over him. He could see glimpses of that open mic night, feel the energy of the crowd, hear the applause echoing in his ears, but then the song came to an end, and reality hit him. He opened his eyes to find Jessica grinning, her eyes sparkling. "That was beautiful, Ethan. You captured something special." "Really?" Hope and disbelief colored his voice. "Yes. Just imagine how incredible it will feel when you perform it live." Her excitement pierced right through any lingering hesitation. But as the adrenaline buzzed in the room and the smiles hung in the air, Ethan realized that this journey wasn't just about music. It was about vulnerability, about taking risks that could lead to something unexpected. "Maybe I can write something new before the big night," he muttered, more to himself than to her, the idea blooming in his mind. "Absolutely. Just keep writing, keep playing," Jessica affirmed. As they stood in that moment, the noise of the celebration faded into the background, leaving only the sound of his heart. What if this was just the beginning? What if, along with his music, he discovered layers of himself he hadn't even tapped into yet? And just then, as his fingers began to wander on the guitar strings again, a new thought crossed his mind. Could he weave his memories, fears, and dreams into lyrics that would touch others' hearts just as music had healed his? With each strum, he felt not just hope but something deeper, an undeniable urge to expand beyond the confines of his comfort zone. But what would he reveal about himself? What would happen when he tried to capture the essence of who he truly was? Ethan was ready to discover the truth about his voice, but beneath that excitement lay the question: what pieces of himself would he unleash in the music? Ethan's thoughts raced as he plucked at the guitar strings, creating a melody that seemed to float through the air, mixing with the chatter of the cafe around them. Nothing could compare to the exhilaration of creating something unique. Each strum felt like a revelation, a symbolic unlocking of emotions trapped deep within him. "Go on, keep playing," Jessica encouraged, her voice barely above the gentle hum of the crowd. Her unwavering support wrapped around him, a protective embrace against the storm of uncertainty swirling in his mind. He took a moment to breathe, ignoring the flickers of doubt trying to drown out the music. Instead, he focused on the warmth of Jessica's presence beside him and let his memories guide his fingers. The last few months had been filled with moments of sadness, hope, and painful growth. A story yearning to be told flowed through him, and he let it lead the way. He transitioned into a new chord progression, one that felt raw and genuine, an echo of his emotional journey. Each note resonated with memories of nights spent alone, strumming away his fears, letting the rhythm simultaneously liberate and weigh him down. As he played, he felt a sense of honesty that had once been so elusive. "I can hear it," Jessica said softly, swaying to the song he hadn't even yet named. "It's like you're telling a story." That realization hit him. This wasn't just about sharing music, it was about sharing his truth. His heart raced with anticipation. He wanted those strangers at Brood Awakenings to feel what he felt, every ache, every thrill, all the beauty that comes with being vulnerable. As he played, he saw the faces of strangers in the imagined crowd. Some hopeful, some weary, some confused. What if his song touched their hearts, offered solace in ways he had craved for himself? What if he could give someone the strength to chase their fears just as he was now? But before he could lose himself in that thought, a deeper worry bubbled up. What if his lyrics clung too tightly to his own pain? What if he exposed scars that were still fresh? The possibility of judgment loomed in the back of his mind, threatening to snuff out the flickering flame of his bravery. "Hey," Jessica interrupted his spiral of thoughts. "What's wrong? Just, what if they don't get me? What if my truth is too raw? What if I don't know? What if I'm just wasting everyone's time?" His voice cracked, a raw edge betraying the heavy weight of his fears. "Ethan, you can't think like that. The people who need to hear your story will be influenced by your truth. That's what makes art so powerful. It connects us." She leaned closer, her eyes steady, unwavering. "You can do this. Just remember your why." He felt her words penetrate the wall of doubt. Recall the purpose behind the strings and notes. It was about connection, not just for him, but for the listener, too. With renewed determination, he played harder, pouring all of his conflicting emotions into the music. Each strum felt like a painting, a vivid collage of color and essence mixing on the canvas of his soul. This was not just a gig, it was a cathartic release. The music echoed through the small corner of the cafe, and for a moment, it felt as if every listener was drawn into his world. They could be part of his journey, and he theirs. Suddenly, the fear of judgment transformed into a profound sense of purpose, but could he truly commit to sharing this part of himself? What if it changed how everyone saw him, not just that night, but forever? As the last note lingered in the air, Ethan opened his eyes, revealing his uncertainty once more. "Jessica, what if they think I'm not good enough?" An expectant silence enveloped them, and Jessica smiled knowingly. "But what if they think you're incredible and that your truth matters?" Ethan's heart raced. She was right, but the stakes felt higher than ever before. Would he really reveal himself? Would he let his music become a mirror reflecting all the intricate, messy pieces of who he was? The cafe buzzed around them, but in that moment, nothing mattered except for the gentle thrum of the guitar beneath his fingers and the pulsing question in his chest. Could he truly embrace who he was, flaws and all, on that stage? As silence fell again, he noticed a figure at the edge of the cafe, watching him intently, an unfamiliar spark in their eyes. Ethan's pulse quickened. What was this new presence, and how would it affect the music he was about to share? With a mixture of hope and anxiety, the next chapter of his journey was about to unfold. Ethan's gaze locked onto the figure at the edge of the cafe. It was a woman, dressed in a vibrant red scarf, her eyes bright and penetrating. There was something electric about her presence, something that made him feel exposed yet strangely empowered. Just when he thought he couldn't bear the weight of expectation, she smiled soft and encouraging, as if she understood every thread of doubt woven into his heart. That he took a deep breath, feeling the air swirl around him like the melody that hung in the room waiting for its chance to be born. Jessica nudged him lightly. "There's someone waiting for you to play." The encouragement snapped Ethan back to the moment. He threw another quick glance at the woman, and despite the nervous energy crackling in his chest, he realized he needed to channel that spark into his music. She was there, a part of this dynamic, reminding him of the risk and beauty of vulnerability. "Let us do this," he whispered to himself, adjusting the guitar strap across his shoulder. Strumming once more, he found his footing in the familiar chords, flipping the switch from uncertainty to intent. As the melody danced from his fingers, he felt a wave of warmth and clarity wash over him. This song wasn't merely about his struggles, it was about shared experiences, hope, and connection. As the notes filled the cafe, he glanced around, baring his soul to everyone present. Some were tapping their feet, lost in the rhythm. Others were leaning in, captivated, as if they could taste the emotions swirling in the air. He leaned into the next verse, every word spilling out like a confession. The lyrics tumbled forth, telling of heartbreak and healing, of fear vanquished by courage. With each strum, he saw different faces in the crowd, not just spectators but fellow travelers in this journey called life. And then, like a well-timed exclamation point to his performance, he turned his focus back to the woman in red. Her face was alight with understanding. She didn't just listen, she absorbed every syllable, reflecting back the weight of the words. In that moment, Ethan felt something shift within him, an eagerness to share more than just his music. As he launched into the chorus again, louder, with more passion, he made a silent promise to himself: he would embrace this vulnerability. He would let his voice echo through their hearts, transforming pain into beauty. The last note rang out, the lingering sound mingling with applause. Ethan opened his eyes, relief flooding through him. As the clapping subsided, the woman's expression was a mix of pride and admiration. She stepped forward, as if compelled to reach out. "Your music, it's powerful," she said, her voice warm and sincere, drawing him in. "I felt every word, every note. You have a gift." He blinked away, surprise, soaking in her encouragement. "Thank you," he managed, the sincerity in her compliment bolstering his confidence. "I couldn't help but wonder," she continued, her voice steady yet inviting, "what inspired that last piece? It held so much depth. Ethan felt his heart race again. Stripped of layers, her question made him reflect. She didn't just see him as a performer, she saw the man behind the guitar. The storyteller seeking truth. He hesitated, trying to gauge the lengths to which he could share his heart. Before he could gather his thoughts, Jessica nudged him, a knowing smile on her lips. She had always been his anchor, and now stood beside him, ready to support whatever came next. The truth is, Ethan began, pausing to find the right words, I've been through a lot. And I think, it's time I told people how I really feel. The woman's eyes sparkled. Sometimes sharing your truth uncovers hidden connections you never knew existed, she said. Ethan felt a spark of hope ignite within him, but just as he opened his mouth to delve deeper, a sudden clatter from behind them drew all attention. A chair had fallen, and a commotion erupted that startled the nearby patrons. Among the noise, his heart sank momentarily. It was like the universe was intervening right at the most crucial moment of his growth. With curiosity and a hint of dread, he turned toward the noise. What was happening now, and how would it change the energy of this night, one that felt so transformative? The chapter of his journey was still unfolding, and Ethan braced himself for the unexpected twist. Ethan turned to find a young man, maybe 20, weaving through the crowd, his face flushed with panic. He was clutching his phone, eyes darting around as if he were looking for something or someone. The cafe's hum quieted, all attention drawn to the sudden chaos unfolding. Someone help, please, the young man shouted, voice trembling. It was a plea laced with fear, raw and urgent. Ethan's heart raced at the desperation in the stranger's tone. He glanced at Jessica, who looked equally concerned. The woman in red, too, seemed captivated by the scene, her expression shifting from admiration to alarm in an instant. What is going on? Jessica asked softly, leaning in closer. The young man continued. My brother, he's outside. He collapsed. He needs help. Instinct kicked in. Ethan set his guitar aside, the calming melodies of his performance now replaced by a swift surge of adrenaline. Without a second thought, he joined the young man, their eyes locking for a brief moment that conveyed understanding. They were united in this moment of urgency. As they rushed outside, the chill of the evening air hit Ethan like a wave, a stark contrast to the warmth inside. A small crowd had gathered near the sidewalk, murmuring anxiously. Ethan pushed through, heart pounding with each step, desperately hoping he wouldn't see anything that would shatter the newfound strength he felt moments ago, and then he saw him. A boy, not much younger than he was, sprawled on the ground, his face pale, a strange stillness surrounding him. Panic clawed at Ethan's chest as he knelt beside the boy. What happened? He asked the young man breathlessly. I don't know. We were just talking, and then he just fell. The young man's voice cracked, and Ethan could hear the tremors of fear beneath his words. Ethan checked for a pulse. It was weak, barely there. He felt a rush of nausea and pushed it aside, focusing instead on the moment, on the urgency of action. We need to call for an ambulance. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his own phone, but the crowd was already buzzing with someone dialing for help. Adrenaline surged through him, clearing the frantic fog threatening to overwhelm his thoughts. Breathe, he urged the young man, who had sunk to his knees beside his brother. Stay with him. Just keep talking to him. The boy stirred slightly at the sound of his brother's voice, a weak groan escaping his lips. Ethan watched, hoping that each flicker of movement would spark something more than just superficial signs of life. As sirens approached in the distance, Ethan glanced back at the cafe, where he shared such intimate moments just minutes before. It felt like a lifetime ago. The woman in red watched from a slight distance, her expression shifting from concern to something that flickered with understanding. In that split second, Ethan felt a powerful connection not just to her, but to everyone here. They were all tied together in this fragile tapestry of existence, a mix of exhilaration and fear pulsing through them like the rhythm of a song. The emergency team arrived quickly, and they took control, expertly assessing the situation and lifting the boy onto a stretcher. The urgency that enveloped Ethan didn't diminish, instead, it heightened every sensation. The cries, the air, the fleeting touches of hope tangled with dread. "Thank you," the young man managed, voice breaking, tears pooling in his eyes as he grasped Ethan's hand tightly for just a moment. "Stay strong," Ethan replied, fighting against the lump in his throat. "He's got this. You've got this." As they wheeled the boy away, the crowd began to disperse, leaving Ethan standing there, breathless, feeling the weight of everything he had just witnessed. The intensity of life hung thick in the air, mingling with the sorrowful notes of uncertainty. Ethan's heart still raced, twisting in different directions: grief, hope, fear, and a reminder of how fragile everything was. All he could think about now was the woman in red. Would she understand this moment? Turning back to look for her, he realized. The cafe was quieter now, the lights dimming, save for one flickering bulb. She had vanished into the night, leaving only a sense of longing behind. Ethan inhaled sharply, feeling a shift inside him, a burning motivation ignited by the urgency of the moment. Could sharing his truth lead him to deeper connections, not just through song but in life? And as the sirens faded into the distance, a seed of resolve took root in Ethan's heart. One secret had unfolded tonight, but was it the only one waiting to be unleashed? What hidden truths would reveal themselves if he dared to reach beyond the music? With that thought lingering, Ethan turned and stepped forward, ready to confront what lay ahead. Ethan stood at the edge of the cafe, the echo of sirens and fading worries swirling around him. The night felt different now, overloaded with moments that cut deeper than his own fears. He took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of life around him. The encounter with the boy and his brother had shifted something inside. It ignited a stark awareness of how fragile existence was, but also how remarkably powerful connection could be. Jessica approached him, worry etched on her face. "Ethan, are you okay?" He met her gaze and found comfort in her concern. "Yeah, I'm realizing something," he admitted, the thoughts bubbling to the surface. "Nothing is guaranteed. We never know when we're going to have a moment like that." "That's true," she said softly, linking her arm through his. "You really helped him, you know. That takes guts." Feeling the warmth of her support, Ethan took a step toward the cafe entrance. The crowd who had gathered to witness the emergency was dispersing, some murmuring among themselves, others offering soft reassurances to one another. Ethan felt a sense of clarity amidst the chaos, a recognition of the collective struggles people shared, and somehow, he wanted to weave that into his music. "Mom, I want to do a song about this," Ethan said suddenly, determination lighting his words. "About fear. About being connected, about life even when it's unpredictable." She smiled brightly, pride illuminating her features. "That sounds incredible, Ethan. It's so real. People need to hear stories like that." Ethan's pulse quickened. The fear and doubt began to lift. He had always been so worried about whether he was good enough, whether people would accept his music, but now, all he could think about was the power of honesty. He couldn't stay hidden in his room anymore. He had to share this journey with others. As they moved inside the cafe, the atmosphere had shifted. Conversations lingered softly, and faint music played in the background. The woman in red wasn't there, but he could still feel her presence, a figurative whisper of encouragement guiding him forward. What would she think of his new determination? Would it resonate with her, too? Sitting down again with his guitar, Ethan strummed a few chords. The familiar weight felt comforting, like an old friend. He inhaled deeply, allowing the hum of the cafe to drown out his doubts. It was time to embrace vulnerability, to let every note unravel truths that had been waiting so long to be heard. "Ethan, are you ready?" Jessica asked, her voice soft yet full of warmth. "More than ever," he replied, his eyes shining with renewed hope. "I'm ready to share who I am, all of it. I want them to feel something." With that, he found the rhythm, picked a new melody, and began to sing. The words poured from him, capturing not just his fears, but also a collective story of love, passion, and the beauty within every challenge life posed. As he sang about the fragile beauty of every shared moment, the cafe hushed once more, the soft brilliance of his voice cutting through the noise, creating a thread that connected everyone present. Faces turned to him, hearts open. He could feel the gratitude reverberating back like echoes in a canyon. Each line illuminated his resolve to stay true, to chase his passion. With each verse, he felt lighter. The weight of judgment dissipated, transformed into encouragement. The energy shifted around him, and he saw nodding heads, tapping feet, and rapt attention, a communal heartbeat pulsing with his melody. As he slid into the chorus, voices joined in, friends, neighbors, the very people he had once feared would judge him. Their shared voices blended with his, filling the air with a palpable sense of unity. In that moment, Ethan realized he was not just sharing his story, he was opening a door for others. The walls he had built began to crumble. Everything he had feared most, rejection, judgment, was now replaced with the warmth of acceptance, understanding, and connection. As he finished the song, applause erupted, a surge of support pouring over him like sunlight, piercing through clouds. Thankfulness filled his chest. He locked eyes with Jessica, her eyes gleaming with pride. He had taken that leap, and in return, he had discovered strength that ran deeper than fear. "Thank you," he exclaimed, overwhelmed by the experience, a genuine smile spreading across his face. This is just the beginning. With the echoes of his performance still fresh, Ethan envisioned a future where his music could transcend boundaries. More performances, more songs. Perhaps he could inspire others to share their stories, too. As people began approaching him, words of encouragement spilling forth, Ethan felt a spark inside him. The journey of fear and vulnerability had transformed into a celebration of life and truth. And with every heartbeat, he realized that this connection was a gift he didn't want to keep to himself. Tonight had been transformative, not just for him, but for everyone present. He could cultivate this space for others, encouraging them to share their own tales. Inspiration would ripple out, and alongside Jessica and the support of his community, he could continue down this path of discovery. And just as he thought of the woman in red, he was already scripting new melodies in his mind, counting down to open mic night, excited to weave those newfound truths into songs waiting to be sung. In a world where moments could change lives in a blink, Ethan was ready to embrace the adventure ahead, hand in hand with the people who believed in the magic that lay within the true stories of their hearts. The possibilities stretched before him like a wide-open sky. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Let us connect. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.